if I start telling people about hell, I might just scare them off. Where are you going to scare them off to? Hell number 2? Or are you just going to sit there and let them burn?
But what's wild is if you look at the Bible, and that's the whole point, if you look at the Bible does warn about a real live judgment day, okay? And this judgment day is not make-believe, it's not from Hollywood, okay? It's not computer animated, it doesn't need Arnold Schwarzenegger to pull it off, okay? And that was the premise. And, of course, the judgment day is a 7-year tribulation. And so as I began to look at this research, my question was, well, wait a second, 7-year tribulation, right? Worst time in the history of mankind, Jesus said, never to be repeated again. In fact, if God didn't shorten that time frame and kept it only 7 years, the entire human race would be wiped out. Okay? Do we have the technology on the planet to do some of the things that are mentioned in the 7-year tribulation? And if you look at just 2 judgments of the 7-year tribulation, it's not going to be a good time, like Jesus said. In the sealed judgments, Jesus, of course, he talks about how when the global war breaks out there in the sealed judgments, and it says clearly that 1/4 of the world is annihilated by sword and famine and plague and wild beasts and things of that. And so 1/4 of the planet is going to be annihilated in a very quick, short time there. Okay, according to the context. Then in the trumpet judgments in the second half, you see that another 1/3 of the planet, okay, is going to be annihilated. So you look at just those 2 judgments. If you know anything about the Bible and the 7-year tribulation, there's a whole lot more that goes on just in those 2 judgments. Okay, it's horrible for 7 years nonstop. But if you look at just those 2 judgments, you add it up with the statistics and the population, you're talking about half the planet. Okay, so the question is, well, wait a second, do we have the technology, okay, to annihilate half the planet in a relatively short amount of time, assuming we're not talking about nuclear warfare, which I'm not necessarily convinced that that is the case, that it's nuclear warfare, because we usually gravitate towards that. Yeah, of course, we'll draw some nukes, and that'll wipe out half the planet. But if you look at the 7-year tribulation, at least society is continuing to function and move around. You got a Jewish temple that is apparently being built. You got an Antichrist who still wants the world to worship him. Granted, it's the worst time in the history of mankind, and it gets worse as you go. Okay, but it doesn't appear that a nuclear winter has necessarily occurred. Maybe there could be some nukes here or there, but it doesn't look like half the planet went with a nuclear holocaust. So that's the question. Do we have the technology on the planet to take out half the planet, not using nuclear warfare, in a relatively short amount of time? And I believe this technology with the drones, that's exactly what is being prepared for our planet. And that's an event that, of course, what I described is during the 7-year tribulation. And if, in fact, this drone technology, which is being militarized, it's being miniaturized, it's being launched all over the world, and combined with a global artificial intelligence, if, in fact, we see that, and if, in fact, I'm not going to say thus saith the Lord, but if that technology is actually used and utilized to annihilate half the people on the planet during the 7-year tribulation, and the rapture of the church takes place prior, then we don't know the day nor the hour. But how much closer then is the rapture of the church if we see that technology? And again, you could go and look online, and you're seeing warnings around the planet that this is what is really coming to our planet. And most people have no clue about this technology and how it's radically going to change everything. So again, that's why I appreciate you guys, letting me be on and getting to share just this premise with you. And because people need to be warned, and they need to realize that, listen, we're living in the last days. This is not a time to goof off. If you're a Christian, it's a time to get busy sharing the gospel as much as you can. But if you're listening to this broadcast and you're not a Christian, you need to get saved. This is not a game. You need to give your life to Jesus Christ quick. You do not want to be here when God's wrath begins to pour on this planet.
Amen. And the thing is that a lot of people are just not prepared for what's coming. I mean, even just looking back at your previous studies, the final countdown, it's so many things in there that people are unaware of and don't even see because they're just not, their eyes are not open, they're busy being entertained. And now this thing, the drones and the AI, is something that we've been seeing in the movies, like you said before, so many movies have brought this into their storyline, and still yet it's coming to a reality. Science fiction has now become reality, but still people just don't understand. Even though they see some of the drones coming in the store, the commercial drones, they still don't understand how bad it's really going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
I would,
go ahead, Rory.
Yeah, I would say it's not that their eyes aren't open. Their eyes are open. People are able to see it. But the Bible says, for lack of knowledge, people perish. And I think that's what's missing. People don't have any knowledge of what's going on in the world that we are living in today. They have been spoon-fed or given a soundbite of what makes things look good. And that's what people go for. They're only given a snapshot, and that's what they think these things are. But they don't necessarily see the dangers in, like you said, Pastor, Skynet is basically coming. Well, Skynet is not coming. It's already here. It's already here. We don't see the manifestation so much. We are seeing the commercialized aspect of it, but we don't see the other side of it yet. And I think that's the thing that's missing.
Yeah, I think too, and that's what it's an analogy I've shared before with other folks in other interviews, and even when it comes to Bible prophecy. But even this issue is we'll see individual pieces, right? But we may not necessarily put it together to put them all, see how they fit together, to see the big puzzle, if you will, right? It's like we saw, some people might have saw the movie Chappie, right, which is the robot, and he became self-aware, and he just leave him alone, right? And they're trying to kill him, or they may have seen Automata, and you saw these robots that became self-aware, but they wanted to replicate and reproduce themselves. Oh, okay, whatever. They see that little piece. They may have seen Ex Machina, seen that movie, and the guy that created the robot lady, whatever, and then of course she goes and kills people and things of that nature. Oh, okay, that was interesting. But they don't see how, like you said, Chris, this is kind of a program of getting people conditioned for something that they're really building. And again, the analogy I've used before is like people see the individual puzzle pieces, but they're not able to put it all together. What enables you to put it all together is the Bible. And the Bible,
Amen.
If you can imagine, somebody gave you a 1,000-piece puzzle set, right? But they didn't give you the cover to the box. And it's like, man, you have no perspective. You just got 1,000 puzzle pieces, and they're very intricate, and it's all these different colors. You literally can't even imagine what's the big picture here. What's the end game here? What's it supposed to look like? And granted, you might be able to put it together eventually, but how much easier would it be if somebody would just say, hey, here's the puzzles, pieces. Oh, by the way, here's the cover. Here's the end game. Well, that's what Bible prophecy does. The Bible prophecy tells us the end game. Here's what it's going to look like. We're headed towards a world where you're going to have a one-world government, one-world religion, and you're going to have this antichrist, this false prophet. They're going to develop this mark of the beast system. They're going to have global control over the economy, the governments, the religions, and they're going to intertwine it with this marking system. Somehow they're going to be able to control what you buy and sell on the whole planet. They're going to be able to monitor and force you and cause you and order this big brother system. And oh, by the way, not to mention all the wars and rumors of wars and pestilence and famine and wild technology and things of that nature, on and on it goes. Well, that's what the Bible does. It gives you that big picture. And then once you see the big picture, you could see, wait a second, oh, that's why they came out with that movie. Or that's why the government's doing this. That's why. Now you can see very quickly, you could put all the pieces together. And in a microcosm, that's what this study does. It takes all this technology that you're seeing in drones, the individual pieces that people might see, but they don't see how it all fits together. And then once you see how it all fits together, hey, it's pretty creepy, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
We are headed for the worst time in the history of mankind, and I think it's a lot closer than people realize.
If you like our videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our frequent updates.